I express my gratitude for allowing me to speak on the Finance Bill 2017. I wish to start by expressing my utter disappointment about the direction in which this government intends or has started taking this country. I remember I was much younger when the late Indira Gandhi clamped internal emergency in this country. Initially, the common man was very, very happy because trains started functioning on time, arrivals and departures were bang on time. Officials used to rush into this secretariat as if their jobs depended on it. Everybody seemed very happy. But gradually, it took a little bit of time, but gradually the average Indian, let us not underestimate the average Indian. The average Indian saw through the dirty game. And come 1977, the Janata experiment was a grand success. It is another matter that the people could not hold themselves together, but it was a grand success and the people saw through the game. In these days of intense social media blitz, all that can be done is this process of recognition. The bell already? All that can be done or can be achieved is that the time frame for understanding can be delayed to a great extent. I admit that, and that is what social media is full in doing, whether we talk about the greatest Western nation that everybody adores, to smaller countries like France and other nations also. So it has immense power. I do not underestimate the powers, but I overestimate the powers of the people of India because they are very perceptive. When I go to my constituency, people ask me, sir, prices of petroleum we see in the Arab countries, they are falling drastically. Why isn't it happening in our country? Because sometime earlier during the UPA 1-2 time, we had these illustrious finance ministers you were there in the house, ma'am, they would put their hand on their chest, sitting right there, look at us and tell us, main hoon na, like they were gods. And they had done the same thing, what is being done today, but they could not properly manifest it. So my youngsters are saying, is it true that there are rumors that just 6-8 months before 2019 general elections, the petroleum product prices will be drastically dropped, things will look cheaper, everything will be available in plenty and much cheaper, and again the people will be fooled, and once they come back to power, they will raise the prices. But here I would like to suggest, ma'am, that let us think as Indians. Let us allow the poor Indian to build up some reserves in their families with which they can survive the vagaries of economic ups and downs that the whole world is seeing today. I would like to just mention 4 points quickly, ma'am, because before you ring the bell, I would like to wind up. Point 1, very surreptitiously, this government has taken upon itself the task of imposing income tax on agriculture. The effort started in 2014-15, and now we are all mutely watching how they are busy decimating that profession. The former Prime Minister had very clearly said here, which had broken my heart and many people were hurt by that farming is no more profitable. We want Indians to migrate from farms into urban areas. We need to urbanize this country. Where does your stomach fill up from? From eating mobile phones, as we have been told, by eating computers, laptops. How do I fill my stomach? If there is no food, and we go back to the 1960s of dependence on foreign countries for food, we will have to reconsider our existence as a nation. Do not forget what happened to the Soviet Union when it collapsed and how the CIS countries had to suffer. But today, each one of them is a very strong country. I pray to God, let that not happen to India. A hard-working farmer, I have seen in my constituency, a hard-working farmer, what does he do? In a nearby Tier 2, Tier 3 city, town, he builds a home which he rents out. He buys a car which he gives to his son or his nephew to drive as a taxi. And that makes some income so that when there's droughts, there is flood, there is hailstorms. In my constituency, there's a lot of incident of hailstorm which destroys crops and flattens out the plants. Then the farmer has some income from these sources to survive, just merely survive, just escape starvation, death, that's all. It's no luxury life, no air conditioning, no big bungalows. But that is now being clubbed as sources, income from other sources. That means a farmer who's toiling throughout the year to make a living, he or she will be allowed a mere 5,000 rupees per annum. And that limit is set up to 2.5 lakhs. What is 2.5 lakhs today? It is 20,833 rupees per month, which is not even the salary of a government peon. A government peon gets more than that. You want to keep the farmers at a niggardly, at the lowest of the low level, so that you can show them this chakma. I don't know.
After this, government has come to power.
Yes.
Government has come to power.
Yes. This Maya. You keep them in the Maya jal. Look at the farmer. How do they survive? Why do the farmer commit suicide? It is not your fault. It is the system's fault. I am not politicizing this. I am not saying BJP, Congress, anybody. It is the system's fault. And all of us are being driven through this system. So just because 40,000, 50,000 farmers are cheating on income tax, let us not punish the 2-3 crores of farmers who are genuine toilers and who are not rich and who are working for survival. Point 2, political funding, electoral bonds. We have been told, Association of Democratic Rights had mentioned it earlier in their report, the Honorable Finmin had also in his budget speech on 1st February, that is reportedly get about 70% of donations through cash and a mere 30% through checks. So this 30% was what was taxable, what was known, and what was, in inverted commas, white money. Now you are saying that they will be allowed to buy bonds, electoral bonds, that too incognito. Secretly, a bank will transfer money to another bank and the bonds can be taken by the political party and deposited in their accounts. That means that 30% bracket has also moved into the incognito branch. You are helping them hide that little amount also. And all of us know how the FCRA rules had been changed in the last finance bill, in the 2015-16 finance bill. And now that shows that foreign funding can come to political parties in India very, very secretively. And in that process, you are allowing people, foreign companies, to lobby here. And this lobbying, you should legalize it or make it in such a manner that people can pay up in white, and that should be acceptable. I would like to repeat this after all my points. Is this the kind of reform that we in this Parliament want to be responsible and a part in passing? This is something that needs to worry all of us. The draconian search and seizure provision in the income tax is my next point, number 3. And I've got one more point after this. I will make it very short.
Okay.
In section 50 of this bill, the government has proposed a curious amendment to allow IT officials not to disclose their reasons for conducting search in CISA. I have a sneaking suspicion that this amendment is being put in to cover up the arbitrary raids conducted during 50 days of demonetization. When you demonetized the Indian currency, I'm being misguided. When you demonetized the Indian currency, at that time, it is said, and I'm quoting, ma'am, sources said that no official instructions or orders have been issued by the Revenue Department of the Ministry of Finance for the IT sleuths to swoop on people suspected to be holding or actually holding bulk cash. Instructions are being issued over the telephone from a very high-level official to members of the Central Board of Direct Taxation, who in turn transmit them to the DG of Income Tax, who then verbally directs his senior officers to produce results, a euphemism for showing Caesars. Is this true? If this be true, are you already using the Income Tax Department as a political tool? If that be so, madam, the whole country, not only the BJP or the ruling clique, the whole country accepts that the Congress is a party of crooks. Do you agree or not? If they do, then they must prepare themselves that an election depends on the mood of the people. What if, in a terrible condition in 2019, there is a swapping of places? Do you want to give this deadly tool to a bunch of crooks? That is a question you have to think about. And finally, my last point, which is number 4, madam, the NPA problem is getting worse. Our economy is in shambles. This year's economy survey points out that bad loan last year, it's 12.some%. More than 4/5, and I'm quoting the economic survey, more than 4/5 of non-performing assets were with public sector banks, where NPA ratio has reached a little over 12%. This situation is very alarming. There is practically no new loans being given out. One wonders, if you are not giving out new loans, how is your GDP figure shooting up to 7 and you are planning to go beyond 7% also? It boggles our minds. We are commoners. We are not able to understand this jugglery of figures. 7% GDP real growth for third quarter of financial year 2017 released by government has made many experts conclude that demonetization has had no effect on the economy, which is great if true. Let us accept that. But how can the economy grow when the bank lending growth has declined to a 60-year low of a mere 5%? That's a 60-year low. We are in a partial state of recession, since there are reports of massive job cuts across sectors, from IT, real estate, everywhere. If the government claims that the 7% figure is true, it has to be living in denial. It is not accepting reality. They may hide behind their shroud of public relation. Madam, you must have heard of Mr. Goebbels in the 1940s. He used to say that keep repeating something, and the public believes that. But eventually what was Mr. Adolf Hitler and Mr. Goebbels and Mr. Heinrich Himmler and all their cohorts themselves started believing the lies they were dishing out. And that brought about the fall of the Third Reich. It is quite possible that one day the top 10 defaulting companies, which owe 40,000 crores each to banks will slap them in the face and leave them stunned like one of the smaller players left for England. Markets will come crashing down. I would say the government should beware of such a situation, not take lightly, not behave like the earlier finance minister used to do, keep his hand and say that leave everything to me. When everybody left them, for 10 years, these people looted the country dry. Let that not happen to India again. You gentlemen, you are not in power. You will not even know what is happening. When you come to know, you know when you will know, when we will know. When we all know, the country will know. But then it will be too late. I would just end with 2 lines, ma'am. Rhetoric dies a quick death, but changing laws has a long-term effect. I ask the government to pull their heads out of the sand and smell the bad smell in the air.
थोड़ा सा 3 to 4 minutes काइंडली, क्योंकि जेटली जी बिजी थे, सुन नहीं रहे थे सर, तो थोड़ा सुनिए आई एम सॉरी.